Human ambassador, Eben Krast, carefully ascended the steps towards the dais, trusting to his stick and his memory to guide him. 40 years had passed, but although his sight had been cruelly taken from him, every facet of the hallway was etched keenly into his mind. It had, after all, been the last thing he had ever looked upon before his vision and his life had been plunged into darkness. He clenched the stick with white-knuckle strength, using it to make his way up the steps onto the platform, where he knew they would be watching his struggles with sadistic pleasure. The suffering of lesser species had always amused the Forged. Eben stumbled as he struggled to maintain balance on stumped flesh. His toes had blackened, withered and died from the frostbite he had acquired, hauling goods through the tundras of those who forged in the ice. He wheezed through lungs scarred for the impure air of the factories of those forged in the void. His good hand continued to grip the stick firmly, the other flapped uselessly at his side, a punishment delivered by an overseer of those forged in the sand, for the crime of succumbing to the blistering heat of their deserts. With each step, the dull ache of 1,000 old wounds reminded him of the lifetime he had spent in their servitude, performing the tasks their biology prevented them from. He had been whipped and flayed, beaten and starved, but he had never broken. Instead, his will and defiance had grown stronger. His body had been battered and ruined, but his mind and resolve were as of steel. He limped steadily upwards, the memories continuing to savage his mind. Humanity, a species that could survive, albeit with difficulty, in any environment, had been unheard of for the Forged. Trapped in their home planet by the confines of their own biology, the discovery of humanity had represented an extraordinary opportunity for expansion and wealth for the free allied races. He had been the first to meet them. He had stood before them in this very chamber, filled with hope for a burgeoning relationship. They had crushed his hope as quickly as they had crushed Albion's meagre defences, and the entire planet had been set to slavery. He reached the first step. The ground flattened and his stick clattered against a rail, letting him know that he had arrived on the platform where he had, excitedly, hopefully, addressed them so many years before. The same spot where his eyes had been put out. He could picture them leering down at him from their balconies. Each species representative would be lounging in the custom habitat they so desperately needed for their survival. "Speak quickly, human," an arrogant voice blasted through his speakers. "We tire of your hobbling. The council has matters to discuss that are far more important than the entreaties of chattel. You will be allowed 2 of your minutes to address the council." Anger flushed through Eben, steadying his nerves. He was the voice of millions. He gazed up towards the voice with milky eyes, and began to speak, softly. "For most of my lifetime, humanity has toiled under the heel of the Forged. Where you are confined to the boundaries of your evolution, we have been forced to work in your place. We toil for you where you cannot, or will not. The labours of our species have made you fat, while human children fight and die for your scraps. Our adaptability, once our strength, has become our shackle." His anger grew, strengthening his voice. The hand clasping his stick shook with rage and adrenaline. "For millennia we dreamt of meeting others to share the universe with. We sought you out and offered you our strength so that we might all share in its bounty. But your greed and decadence caused you to reach out and snatch what we would have offered freely." He heard what passed for laughter amongst the free species, and an amused voice spoke. "We took that which you could not defend. Our ancestors were forged by the brutality of our homeworlds. Your home, Albion, was a garden paradise. It is the right of the strong to take from the weak. You should be thankful to us. One day you may be strengthened by the hardships we forced you to endure." "Albion was never our home. You mistook humbleness for frailty. We were too few to resist you, but we have kept ourselves busy. Our true home was Earth, and now Earth has come to reclaim its children." Silence from the Forged. In the distance, Eben could hear sirens and confused shouting. His heart leapt. "You take such pride in the suffering of your ancestors, but you did not realize that we too were forged. On Earth, humanity was forged in ice, and cold, bitter enough to freeze an icewater in its sleep. We act out a living in sands more scalding than any as sandforgers felt. We tamed the void in our infancy, and saw the skies gleefully, as species that would tear a void forged to pieces. We faced more hardship on our homeworld than your free species combined. And then we voluntarily put ourselves through more. There is nothing you have done to us that in our history we have not already done to ourselves. Slavery, genocide, above all else, conflict has forged us." He could hear sirens in the distance now. The representatives of the council were shouting with fear and alarm, demanding to know what was happening. The unmistakable thrum of a human dreadnought entering subspace above the station caused Eben to laugh out loud. He slowly began to unscrew the top of his stick, maintaining the vice grip he had kept on the top, and let the shaft fall to the ground. Above the din, Eben's voice thundered. "This," he said, holding the stick aloft, "is the trigger to a thermonuclear warhead that we have painstakingly hidden within this station. There are many others placed strategically within your empires. It's taken us decades. My life's work." He had their full attention now. "Don't bother shooting me. When my finger is removed from this button, it will instantly detonate, killing every being on this station." He could hear their fear, sense their terror. His only remaining regret was that he would not see the looks on their faces. "We are those forged in war, and we are coming for you." He released his grip on the stick, and the last thing the Forged Council saw was his satisfied smile.